Spurs 4, Manchester United 3. What a crazy game of football, and a game that was decided by goalkeeping errors more than anything else. And while Manchester United have gone out of the Carabao Cup, I think there's an awful lot of positives we can take from the game. We've got 5 talking points to get into. Let's jump right into it. Okay guys, 5 talking points to get into. As always, please smash a like on the video before we get started. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel, on the way to 13,000 subscribers. Trying to get there by the end of the year, so if we can do that and you can hit subscribe, please do. It helps the channel out an awful lot. We're going to start, guys, with Amram's tactics. Okay, I think tactically it was actually quite a good performance by Manchester United, and I think Ruben Amram outsmarted Ange Postecoglou in a lot of ways. First and foremost, I think in the middle of the park, I think was massively impressive. And you know, while some of the results haven't gone our way, and there has been some performances that haven't been good enough, I think what Amram is trying to implement into this team and into this group of players, I think seems to be working a little bit. So we've got the starting 11 on the screen, as you can see, and I want to highlight more than anything else to start off with was in midfield. I think we dominated in midfield, especially in the first half, and a lot of that was down to what Spurs were actually doing, more so than Manchester United, and I think Ruben Amram knew this more than anything else. Spurs set up with obviously 3 up front, and they were looking to press man for man when we were on the ball, and what that allowed us to do, it allows us to have a numerical advantage in the middle of the field. We know that obviously Ugarte and Eriksen were playing in the 2 number 6s, and then we had Bruno and Anthony in the 2 number 10s. And Spurs had 3 in the middle. Okay, so when Manchester United are trying to play out, whether that be with Martinez going to Delors, coming inside into midfield, automatically what you're seeing here is that Manchester United have a numerical advantage in midfield. We've got a 4v3 in midfield, and I think it worked really, really well in the first half for Manchester United. And I thought, more than anything else, you know, when we're looking at the players that were in here, I thought Christian Eriksen stood out really, really well. Some of the and a lot of the times where Manchester United played out and played through midfield in the first half, Christian Eriksen was, you know, pivotal to what we were trying to do. There was a lovely ball that came in from the left hand side from Delors, who played a ball into Christian Eriksen here. Bruno had dropped out wide, ball came into Eriksen, and Eriksen played it out to Bruno, and we were instantly down the line creating opportunities. So I thought that was very impressive out of Ruben Amram, and he went for numerical advantage in midfield. He knew that Spurs were going to press with a 3 up front, and that would leave in a numerical advantage in the middle of the park, and I think Manchester United exploited that quite well in the first half, and you can see that all of the stats back it up in terms of possession, in terms of chance creation, so on and so forth. I thought it was really, really good. And you know, these are some of the talking points that we're talking about Ruben Amram now in relation to what he's trying to implement. What we said when he came in is that we want a style of play, we want to be able to see a style of play, and I think that is, I suppose, pivotal to the way Manchester United want to play going forward, and I think we're seeing it. It's quite evident that we're seeing it now. We might not have the players so far and at the moment to, you know, to fully implement it and go forward, but if you're talking 12 months down the line, when, you know, you've got a couple of transfer windows under your belt, and the players that are good enough to play in this have got 12 months of doing so, I think we're going to see a lot better Manchester United side. Secondly, in terms of tactics, I thought United going forward were really good, and we attacked with a forward 5. And again, I don't think Spurs had much of an answer to this, which was quite impressive. Bruno was obviously dropping in to that left inside channel, and Anthony tended not to be in this inside channel as much. We know Anthony is more of a wide player, but what I thought was really impressive about it was when Anthony stayed wide, Mazraoui went into that position and played inside the fullback, and I thought it was very, very impressive for Manchester United. We pressed with, or we attacked with it with a forward 5, and when the ball specifically was on this right hand side, what it meant was Mazraoui was here, the fullbacks were pressing, the centre halves were closing across, the fullback on the far side were tucking in, and we had the low over here that, you know, had acres of space, and I thought it was quite impressive. We've seen an awful lot of balls being crossed the field, you know, long balls across the field into open space. I thought it was really, really impressive. Again, we were looking at Bissouma playing in this number 6. He was kind of unsure of whether to drop back in and make up a back 5. He tended to stay out to try and cut out any balls that were being played short through the middle, but he was really marking no one. Christian Eriksen and Ugarte were kind of holding off a little bit, looking for the recycled balls that may come back out. But these balls, and a couple of times we did see it, Mazraoui was dropping into these positions rather than Anthony going in, and the ball was being played into him, and he was playing these balls out to the low. I thought it was really, really impressive how United set up and how we created chances through that. I thought Bruno on this inside channel looked very dangerous. And, you know, again, it was a tactical advantage that Ruben Amorim had seen, obviously, in his analysis of Spurs. And a lot of chances were created from it. We've seen a lot of balls getting out to Bruno on that inside left channel where he played balls across that 6-yard box. Now, unfortunately, maybe the delivery wasn't as good as it could have been. I think he could have took a little bit off. And also when you're talking about your forward players getting in on the end of things, I don't think that was really there with Highland as well. But in terms of a structure and implementing a style of play, I think we're seeing it quite clearly with Ruben Amorim, and it's something that I'm really impressed with. Next up, Binder. We've got to talk about it. It was a horrendous display, not just from him, both goalkeepers. But again, this is the United Community Channel, not the Spurs Community Channel. So we're going to talk about Binder a little bit. The first goal, I understand there was the deflection, and you know, that can throw off a keeper. Absolutely it can. I've never been a goalkeeper, so I can't talk about it specifically. However, when you look back at the replays, the direction of the ball didn't change because of the slight deflection off Erasmus Highland. And I think he's got enough time to sort his feet out. Rule number one with a goalkeeper is that when a shot is taken, you parry the ball out of danger. You get it out wide. And he didn't do that. He parried the ball back into the danger zone. Now, there is criticism on the Manchester United defence as well. We didn't follow in the second ball. And you know, so it's not all Binder's fault. But however, I do think the initial mistake was made by him. If he parries that ball wide, you're putting it out of danger and you're allowing your defenders to get back in and maybe get in goal side so a second shot doesn't come in on the goal. I thought it was poor. When it comes to the fourth goal, it was the fourth goal, wasn't it? I think, yeah, it was. Scored directly from the corner. I mentioned it last night on the match reaction that you're a goalkeeper. You know, you can reach higher than anybody else on the field. Goalkeepers get away with being physical. You know, you can elbow lads, you can push lads in the box for set pieces. You know, stand on lads' heels. I think all of these are options for goalkeepers. I thought he was way too weak under a little bit of pressure. Now, there was a grab on his left arm, but initially, if you look at it, he is going to punch the ball with two fists. And his left arm is dragged down, his right arm is still there. You cannot be allowing a shot to go in, or a corner to go direct across to go in directly from a corner. It's just not good enough from the goalkeeper. There's a reason why maybe he hasn't played an awful lot for Manchester United. I do not think he's going to get too much game time on the back of that performance. Now, there has been a little bit of criticism around Ruben Amorim actually playing him. You've got to make some rotational changes throughout the season. Absolutely you do. And we're going into probably more important games when it comes to the FA Cup against Arsenal, and even in the Europa League where we want to get into the top 8. This was probably the game of least importance in Ruben Amorim's mind, and I think that's one of the reasons why he changed Binder. But going forward, I don't see him playing too much more. Next up, Ugarte. What a brilliant signing this guy has been. I have to say, I've been so massively impressed by him. I think he is pivotal to the way that we set up that midfield. I have to say, and when we look at the tactics board again with him, you know, over the last few games, and of course we've seen Christian Eriksen. I thought Christian Eriksen played well. I've seen some people online criticising how Eriksen played. I think he played really well. But you know, outside of last night's game, we've seen Bruno Fernandes over the last few games playing the number 6 role as well. So you've got an attacking player, an attack-minded player playing alongside Manuel Ugarte. And I think this is pivotal to how Ruben Amorim wants to play in midfield. He wants control in midfield. He wants players getting on the ball and advancing it. And Manuel Ugarte gives us that option to play a more attacking player alongside him in one of the 6s rather than somebody like a Casemiro, for example. Because if Bruno wanders up the field, or it's Christian Eriksen, and, you know, we're looking to go on the attack, we know that Manuel Ugarte and the amount of ground he covers, is absolutely phenomenal. He can cover all of this area. It's very, very impressive, I have to say. I don't know what I'm after doing there, but anyway, we'll forget about. It's really, really impressive. He covers so much ground across this area of the field, and ground that you would expect nearly 2/6 to do. I've been massively impressed by him. I was surprised that he started this game, and he played 90 minutes as well, I think. Given the energy and that he put out there against Man City on the weekend, 2 games in a row, there's a reason why Ruben Amorim thought so highly of him at Sporting Lisbon. He is pivotal to how Ruben Amorim wants to play in that midfield. I thought he was absolutely fantastic, and long may it continue. We've been talking about needing somebody like him for a long time, and I think Casemiro done a really good job in his first season, but we've got to, be realistic with Casemiro. He's getting on, he's old. Ugarte is a young man, and he's ready to take on that mantle of being that real pivotal number 6 in there. And as well, I do have to give him credit, and he surprised me a little bit about how neat and tidy he is on the ball when we're in possession. I've been very impressed with that side of his game. Absolutely fantastic sign, and long may it continue. Next up, Ahmad again. Impact, this time off the bench, but nonetheless, it was an absolutely fantastic performance by Ahmad, I have to say. Look, he comes into this number 10 role instead of Anthony, and, we've seen him play there against Man City now on the weekend. And before that, he was playing in the right wing-back position. It's great that we have a lot of players now that can play in more than one position, and I think we're seeing that an awful lot under Ruben Amorim. But look, I think this ultimately will be his position going forward. Attacking wise, he gives us so much more than anyone else in that Manchester United squad at the moment. And how he chased down the goal that he eventually scored, I think was fantastic. The enthusiasm, the willingness to run, the willingness to close down, the fact that he gets you off the edge of your seat every time he's on the ball. He is a Manchester United player, and I've been so impressed with him this season. And the more we look at Ahmad and the more good performances he puts in, the more criticism will fall on Erik ten Hag for not playing him more. And I think Ahmad is quickly becoming the first name on the team sheet for Ruben Amorim week in, week out. He had to rest him for this game. I do believe that. We don't want to burn out a young player like Ahmad at 22 years of age. There's an important game coming up against Bournemouth at home on the weekend as well. You've got to rest players. And again, Ruben Amorim said after the game, we looked at all the data and we've got to be able to rotate players, and Ahmad was one of them. He wants to play Ahmad every game, every minute of every game, of course he does. But you can't afford to do that. Ruben Amorim doesn't want to have the same type of injuries that Erik ten Hag did in his spell last season, and I think that's vitally important that we do get the opportunity to rest players. And the fact that players can play in more than one position, I think, is going to give the manager the chance to not only rest players from the starting 11, but maybe take them off after 60, 70 minutes or whatever the case may be. But Ahmad has been a shining light this season so far, and long may that continue as well. And finally, guys, lack of real quality in the depth of the team. I think, look, we made 6-7 changes, was it, to the starting 11 against Man City on the weekend for this game. And you could tell there was changes made. You really, really could. And again, look, when we look at the starting 11, look, Lindelof played. It's unfortunate he can't stay fit. He's had injury problems. I think it's only his 4th start since March, and that goes to show the amount of injuries he's getting there. Johnny Evans came on while he scored. Johnny Evans, will always give so much for Manchester United and give his heart and soul. I think for the goal just after the half time, I thought he gets caught. He's in this position when the ball is played across the box. He takes a step out rather than covering this inside channel. If you're that first defender, you've got to cut off the ball going across the edge of the box, and he doesn't. He takes a step out, and that ball is crossed there, and it does give an opportunity for them to score, which they do take. But I think Martinez hasn't looked himself this season. Yoro, I thought, came on and played really, really well. Christian Eriksen hasn't got the legs for 90 minutes, albeit he did do some good things when he came on. We had Anthony that started in this position. Again, look, I mean, a big opportunity for Anthony to go and, maybe put down a marker to get more game time. I think off the bench he's done quite well in the last few substitute appearances, but in terms of a starter, I just don't see it with Anthony, and I think his game time will probably be limited. You know, when we're looking off the bench, it's clear that Highland is going to be the number one choice for that number 9. However, I thought Xerxes probably done a little better than Highland when he came on. But outside of that, I mean, in terms of depth in the squad, I don't think there's an awful lot of quality there. You know, we're talking about, you know, maybe Malacia, we're talking about Casemiro, we're talking about Mount can't stay fit. Even Garnacho didn't do an awful lot when he came on as well. So I think there's a big upheaval continuing and needed at Manchester United. We're going to need to turn over an awful lot of players over the next few transfer windows in terms of getting players gone and getting them moved on and getting players of real quality in. Look, we know that we're by no means the finished article, and you know the league table will you know back that up. Absolutely it will. However, I go back, and we always try and finish on a positive. I go back to what I said at the very start. The tactics and the ideas that Ruben Amorim are trying to implement into this squad and into this team are there, and they're in plain sight. You can clearly see what he's trying to do, and I think it is working in terms of a way of playing within the Premier League. It does work. We need to back that up now, and we need to assemble a squad who are good enough to implement these ideas. And there are a number of players there that absolutely are good enough to be Manchester United players going forward. And I thought we signed really, really good quality players in the summer. However, we're nowhere near the finished article. You know what I mean? And I think that's quite clear to see. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Guys, smash a like on the video. Hit subscribe if you're new. A lot of talking points in this game. And we move on to Bournemouth on the weekend. Hopefully we can pick up 3 points there and get back to winning ways. Like I said, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. And I'll see you on the next one.